The wedding had gone off without a hitch, the ceremony elegant, heartfelt, and slightly chaotic in the way only family weddings could be. My son, Alex, had looked every bit the groom he was supposed to be, handsome in his tailored suit, nervously adjusting his cufflinks while trying not to sweat through the humidity of late June. His bride, Isabella, radiant in her ivory gown, had smiled throughout, unaware that I had orchestrated the most ridiculous plan in the world. I'd always loved a prank, something to shake people out of their stiffness, and tonight, with the house quiet and everyone exhausted from the festivities, I decided the perfect target would be my new daughter-in-law. As the last of the guests waved goodbye and the faint echo of champagne corks popping still lingered in the air, I watched Alex and Isabella retreat to their honeymoon suite with a grin that would have made any mischievous grandmother proud. But I was no grandmother yet, at least not officially. Still, I had experience. I had learned that life was too short to be serious all the time, and weddings were the perfect playground for a harmless joke. I waited a few minutes, letting the faint sounds of laughter and chatter from the remaining guests fade down the hall, and then quietly, I slipped into the room Alex and Isabella had been assigned. The room smelled of roses and sandalwood, a faint trace of the perfume Isabella had worn earlier in the day, still lingering in the air. I paused, listening to the sounds of movement above the bedspread, the rustle of fabric, the faint giggle that confirmed she had no idea I was already inside the room. Sliding carefully beneath the bed, I could hear the soft thud of their luggage being set down and the creak of the mattress as they both shifted, unaware of the observer crouched just inches from their feet. The plan was simple. I would hide until Isabella bent down to reach something, perhaps a shoe or a rogue ribbon from the bouquet, and then, pop! I would startle her with a roar that would be more comical than scary, enough to make her jump and laugh, and for Alex to roll his eyes at his mother's antics. I had rehearsed the sound in my mind for weeks, picturing her reaction. Eyes wide, hands flailing, maybe a shriek followed by laughter, and then the start of a lifelong inside joke. But fate, as it often does, had other ideas. I had not considered that someone else might enter the room before my carefully timed prank. While I waited under the bed, the door opened quietly, and I heard a voice, unfamiliar but polite, calling softly, "Isabella?" The tone was hesitant, almost nervous, and I froze mid-breath. It wasn't Alex. It wasn't Isabella herself. My mind raced. Who could possibly be in the hotel room at this hour? Maybe a room service mistake? No, it was far too late. The footsteps approached the bed slowly, deliberately, and I felt my chest tighten. Whoever it was, they were now standing at the threshold. The voice spoke again, clearer this time. "Sweetheart, are you here?" My blood ran cold. Sweetheart. That was a term of endearment only a mother would use. I pressed myself against the floor, trying to disappear completely, heart hammering against my ribs. Then a shadow fell across the space beneath the bed, and I realized with absolute certainty who it was. Isabella's mother, Marjorie. She had come. How she knew, I had no idea. Maybe she had followed them to ensure her daughter arrived safely at the suite. Maybe she had worried about some last-minute detail only a mother could think of. Whatever the reason, my perfectly timed prank was about to collide head-first with reality, and the outcome was entirely unpredictable. Marjorie bent down, perhaps to pick up a dropped earring, the hem of her dress brushing lightly against the edge of the bed frame, and I swallowed audibly, praying she wouldn't notice the rustle of my sleeve beneath the mattress. My mind raced through scenarios. Run? No, too risky. I could be seen immediately. Stay silent? Yes, stay silent. Maybe she'll think she's alone and I can retreat later. But then she spoke again. A whisper, almost tender. "Honey, I brought your grandmother's ring." My eyes widened. How did she have it? Why was she giving it to Isabella now after the wedding, the ceremony complete? And then I realized I had no choice. If she reached under the bed for something, she would find me, and my prank would backfire spectacularly. I held my breath as she reached toward the side of the bed, a silver case in her hand, and just as her fingers brushed the carpet, I felt a pang of panic and hilarity at the same time. This was it, the moment my prank was about to collide with reality. "Mom?" Isabella's voice called out suddenly, startling me more than I could have imagined. Marjorie straightened, turning her face toward the door. "I thought I heard someone under here," she said softly, and I froze. This was the moment. I had to choose: reveal myself or stay hidden, risk discovery or retreat into silence. My fingers curled around the edge of the bedspread, heart racing, mind spinning, and then, inevitably, she bent slightly again, reaching for the ring, and the bed frame creaked beneath her weight. "Oh!" I gasped involuntarily, and Marjorie's eyes went wide. Her hand froze midair, the ring slipping slightly between her fingers. "Mother?" Isabella asked again, closer now, stepping toward the bed. I realized there was no graceful way out. I pushed myself forward, crawling out from under the bed as quickly as dignity would allow. Marjorie jumped back, clutching the ring to her chest, eyes wide with shock. I blinked, hands raised, trying to signal peace, humor, everything at once. It's me," I stammered, voice shaky but attempting lightness. I was going to prank you." Silence followed, a thick, heavy pause in which the weight of the misunderstanding pressed down on all three of us. Then Marjorie's lips parted, a mixture of astonishment and something else, laughter, incredulity, forming as she took a careful step back. "You hid under the bed?" she asked, her voice incredulous. "Yes," I admitted, cheeks burning. Tonight seemed like the perfect opportunity for a little joke. I did not expect... I gestured vaguely between us. "You?" She blinked, still holding the ring. Oh my goodness, you scared me half to death. I thought someone had broken in." Isabella, wide-eyed, looked between us. "Mom?" she asked again, uncertain. Marjorie shook her head, then laughed softly, almost helplessly. "No, sweetheart, it's okay. It's just your mother-in-law. And she's apparently a prankster." Relief washed over me, but it was quickly replaced by embarrassment, the kind that makes your ears feel like they're on fire. I had wanted to be funny, to create a memory that would make everyone laugh, and instead I had created a moment of pure, chaotic shock. Isabella took a step closer, still holding her hands to her chest, laughing nervously. "Well," she said slowly, "this is unexpected." Marjorie shook her head again, smiling faintly, a little wary, but the tension in her shoulders eased. "Unexpected is right," she said. You've certainly got spirit. I can see where Alex got it from." Alex, meanwhile, had been standing silently at the doorway, a bemused expression on his face. "Mom?" he said finally, shaking his head. What are you doing?" I smiled weakly, gesturing to the space under the bed. "I was going to scare Isabella." He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Well, mission accomplished," he muttered, and just like that, the air shifted from tension to a strange shared humor. Marjorie, Isabella, Alex, and I, all three generations caught in this ridiculous, unexpected moment, laughed. It was a laugh that carried relief, disbelief, and a little bit of wonder at the absurdity of life. And though my prank had gone entirely wrong, something remarkable happened. For the first time, I noticed the warmth in Marjorie's eyes, the way she studied me, perhaps reconsidering her assumptions about her new daughter-in-law's mother. Maybe, she thought, she wasn't just a prankster. Maybe she was harmless, maybe even a little endearing. And so, the wedding night began in a way none of us could have predicted, beneath the floral curtains and the dim hotel lights, with secrets, laughter, and the faint echo of a plan gone sideways. And deep inside, I realized that sometimes life's funniest moments are the ones we never intended. After the laughter had settled, Marjorie finally put the silver ring back into its box, her hands still slightly trembling. Isabella, still wide-eyed, looked at her mother and then at me, a mixture of curiosity and caution in her gaze. "Mom, why are you here?" she asked, her voice soft, almost questioning. Marjorie smiled faintly, setting the box down on the nightstand. "I wanted to make sure you were safe. After all, it's your wedding night, and I wanted to see you settled." There was a pause, a quiet weight in the air as she glanced at me, and I could feel the electricity of unspoken acknowledgement between us. I gave her a small nod, realizing that she had come not to confront, but to care in her own way. Alex finally stepped fully into the room, closing the door behind him. "Mom, you could have called first," he said, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips, though his tone carried more amusement than scolding. "I wanted to surprise her," I admitted, shrugging, though I felt slightly embarrassed. "Well, you succeeded," Alex said, shaking his head, running a hand through his hair. Isabella, meanwhile, had taken a tentative step closer to Marjorie, her earlier nervousness softening. "Mom, you're here for me?" she asked, her tone warmer now. Marjorie nodded a little shyly. "Yes, sweetie. I wanted to see you. And perhaps to give you something important." She gestured toward the ring box again, and Isabella's face lit up. "Grandmother's ring?" she asked, eyes bright with anticipation. "Yes," Marjorie said, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "It's a family tradition, passed down for generations. I wanted you to have it tonight now that you're officially part of the family." Isabella took the box reverently, opening it to reveal the delicate ring, a tiny diamond nestled in gold filigree. She held it close to her chest, and for a moment the room seemed to glow with quiet warmth. I watched, fascinated, as mother and daughter shared a private glance, a connection forming that was not mine to interrupt. And yet, I felt a strange sense of pride. Pride that my presence, though accidental, had coincided with this intimate moment. "Thank you." "Mom," Isabella whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Marjorie reached out to smooth a stray strand of hair from her daughter's face. "You're welcome, sweetheart. Just remember that family is more than ceremonies and gifts. It's about care, trust, and being there for each other, even when life surprises you." Her eyes flicked toward me, and I felt the subtle acknowledgement of a truce forming, a silent agreement that perhaps I wasn't entirely the intruder I had imagined myself to be. Alex cleared his throat, stepping closer to bridge the space between generations. "Well," he said lightly, "it seems the surprise was mine, too. Mom hiding under the bed, Marjorie appearing out of nowhere. This is memorable." Laughter followed, breaking the lingering tension. Marjorie chuckled softly, shaking her head. "I suppose we both caught each other off guard," she admitted. I couldn't help but laugh along, the absurdity of the situation blending with genuine relief. The three of us, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, and myself, stood awkwardly yet somehow comfortably in the hotel room. The initial shock had faded, replaced by a quiet sense of connection that surprised me. The night continued, not in the way I had originally planned, with a prank and startled shrieks, but in a more meaningful, albeit unexpected fashion. Alex and Isabella finally settled onto the edge of the bed, Marjorie standing a step back, still holding herself with gentle composure. I remained near the doorway, unsure whether to retreat or stay. "You two," Marjorie said softly, directing her words toward Alex and Isabella, "enjoy tonight. Laugh, share stories, make memories. And perhaps," she glanced at me, a faint smile appearing, "try to keep pranks to a minimum." Alex laughed, shaking his head. "Noted, Mom." Isabella smiled at me, eyes still bright. "I didn't expect to meet my mother-in-law hiding under the bed tonight," she said, a playful glint in her eye. "I didn't expect to meet my daughter-in-law's mother under a bed either," Marjorie replied, her tone equally amused. And in that moment, the room felt lighter, filled with a shared understanding that sometimes life's most chaotic moments can also be its most bonding. I settled onto a chair near the bed, feeling the weight of the evening's events finally ease from my shoulders. Marjorie moved toward the window, pulling back the curtains slightly to reveal the city lights twinkling beyond the hotel. "Beautiful night," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. I nodded, appreciating the rare quiet after the whirlwind of the wedding day. Alex leaned back against the headboard, glancing at his bride and mother. "I never thought I'd see this day turn out like this," he admitted, a grin spreading across his face. "Neither did I said, smiling faintly, "but perhaps that's the beauty of it. Surprises, unexpected visitors, laughter in odd places. Life rarely goes as planned." Isabella reached for my hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "I'm glad you're here, really," she said. "I know you wanted to scare me, but it feels kind of special now." I chuckled softly, the warmth in her words easing the last remnants of my embarrassment. "Well, let's just call it a memorable introduction," I said. Marjorie nodded, her eyes softening. "Memorable indeed," she murmured, glancing at her daughter. For a while, none of us spoke, letting the quiet settle in around us. Outside, the faint hum of traffic carried through the partially open window, blending with the gentle rustle of the curtains. The city felt alive, yet here, in the suite, time seemed to slow, giving us a moment to breathe, to connect, and to simply exist in each other's presence. After a few minutes, Marjorie turned toward the door. "I think I should leave you two to, "Enjoy your evening," she said gently. "I just wanted to make sure everything was okay." Isabella stood, hugging her mother tightly. "Thank you, Mom," she said, voice muffled against Marjorie's shoulder, "for everything." Marjorie hugged her back, lingering a moment longer than necessary, then stepped back, straightening her posture. "Be happy," she said. And with a final glance at me, she moved toward the door. I followed her with my eyes, watching as she disappeared down the hallway, the click of the door closing echoing softly in the suite. Alex and Isabella sat back down, and I finally relaxed, feeling the tension of the evening dissipate. "Well," I said lightly, "that was more eventful than I anticipated." Alex laughed. "Eventful is one word for it. Incredible, chaotic, memorable. Take your pick." Isabella leaned against his shoulder, still smiling. "I suppose every family has its own version of surprises," she said. I nodded, thinking of the strange, unpredictable way life had brought all of us together. The evening stretched on, filled with soft conversation, gentle laughter, and quiet reflection, and as the night deepened, I realized that perhaps the prank I had planned wasn't entirely a failure. It had brought us together in a way I hadn't expected, creating a story that would be retold at future family gatherings, one that would bond us through humor, surprise, and a little chaos. The night ended not with the startled shrieks I had imagined, but with a sense of connection far more lasting and meaningful. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the hotel curtains, casting a warm glow across the suite. The events of the previous night seemed almost surreal as I stirred from the sofa, careful not to wake Alex or Isabella. I glanced at the clock and realized that the wedding celebration was officially over, and the couple had plans to leave for their honeymoon later that day. Isabella was already awake, humming softly as she packed a few essentials into her small overnight bag. "Morning," I said, stretching. She looked up, surprised but smiling. "Good morning," she replied, placing the delicate ring Marjorie had given her carefully back into the box. I noticed a slight frown of concentration as she zipped up her bag, her movements precise, careful. "Everything okay?" I asked. She paused, then shook her head lightly. "Just thinking. It's the first morning as a married couple. Feels different," I nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. The air was charged with excitement, a little nervousness, and the quiet weight of responsibility that came with a new chapter in life. Alex, still half asleep, stretched and let out a long yawn. "Morning, Mom," he said, casually, ruffling his hair. "Coffee?" I smiled, standing. "Coming right up." The hotel had a small kitchenette in the suite, and I busied myself with the coffee machine while Isabella and Alex moved around, finishing the last bits of packing. It was a strange yet comforting routine, a sense of normalcy after the whirlwind of events that had unfolded. As the aroma of fresh coffee filled the room, Isabella lingered near the small window overlooking the city skyline. She seemed lost in thought, a faraway look in her eyes. "I can't believe it's really happening," she murmured, almost to herself. "Marriage, new life, everything changing at once." I handed her a cup of coffee and she accepted it with a small smile. "Change isn't always bad," I said softly. "Sometimes it's just life pushing you forward." She nodded, sipping the coffee slowly. Alex came up behind her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Exactly," he said with a grin. "And we're in this together. No pranks from Mom tonight, I hope." I laughed, shaking my head. "I think I've learned my lesson. No more hiding under beds, at least not for a while." They both laughed, the tension easing further. The rest of the morning passed in quiet preparation. Suitcases were packed, final items checked, and the couple prepared for the journey ahead. I noticed Isabella glancing occasionally at the doorway, as if half expecting her mother to reappear. Marjorie had left the night before without any fuss, her presence lingering like a quiet reassurance, rather than a confrontation. Alex carried the larger suitcase toward the door while Isabella clutched the smaller one. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded, taking a deep breath. And together they stepped toward the door. I followed behind, ensuring nothing was forgotten, nothing left behind. The hotel hallway was bright with sunlight streaming through the tall windows, casting long shadows along the polished floor. The elevator doors opened and we stepped inside, the soft hum of machinery accompanying our descent. Once in the lobby, we were greeted by the concierge, who had arranged the limousine for the honeymoon transfer. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Alden," he said politely, opening the door for Isabella. She stepped inside first, followed by Alex, and finally I handed over their bags with a reassuring smile. "Have a wonderful trip," I said. "Relax, enjoy, and take care of each other." Alex glanced back with a mischievous grin. "Don't worry, Mom. We'll survive your absence." I laughed, stepping back. Isabella waved, and the limousine pulled away, the city lights reflecting off the shiny black exterior as it drove into the distance. Once they were gone, a quiet settled over the hotel lobby, a peaceful silence after the chaotic energy of the wedding festivities. I found a seat near the large glass doors, letting the events of the past 24 hours wash over me. The prank under the bed, the unexpected appearance of Marjorie, the laughter, and the surprising emotional moments, all of it felt like a strange dream now, vivid yet distant. The phone buzzed in my purse, drawing my attention. It was a message from Marjorie. Everything went perfectly, didn't it? She seemed happy. And Alex, too. "Thank you for, well, being you. Safe travels home," I smiled at her words, typing back quickly. "They're gone. Everything is fine. And thank you for coming last night. It meant a lot to all of us." The response came almost immediately. "I'm glad. Family is strange sometimes, but it's always worth it. Take care and see you soon." I put the phone away, feeling a sense of closure for the night's unexpected events. Yet the day wasn't over. I had to return home, and with the quiet streets stretching before me, I realized how much the night had shifted my perspective. A prank that had seemed so trivial had led to moments of bonding and understanding I hadn't anticipated. By mid-afternoon, I arrived at my apartment, the familiar sights and smells grounding me. The door closed behind me with a soft click, and I exhaled, letting the tension drain from my body. I set down the small bag I had carried and walked to the window, looking out over the city. The streets were bustling with life, people moving in and out of shops, taxis honking in the distance, the endless rhythm of urban life continuing unabated. I realized that life, in all its unpredictability, was filled with small moments that, when strung together, created a tapestry of experience. The night of the prank, the arrival of Marjorie, and the laughter that followed had all become a part of that tapestry. That evening, I received a call from Alex. "Mom, just checking in," he said. "We made it to the hotel safely. Thank you for everything last night. Isabella keeps talking about how memorable it was." I chuckled softly. "I'm glad. And remember, no more pranks for a while." He laughed. "Understood. Don't worry." We ended the call, and I leaned back in my chair, reflecting on how strange and wonderful life could be. The unexpected turns, the moments of chaos, and the surprising connections, these were the experiences that shaped us, that gave life texture and depth. The following days passed in a quiet routine. I returned to work, catching up on emails, phone calls, and errands. Yet in the back of my mind, I often thought about Alex and Isabella, wondering about the stories they would share from their honeymoon, the laughter that would fill their suite, the moments they would remember forever. One evening, as I sat with a cup of tea, the phone rang. It was Marjorie. "I wanted to let you know," she said warmly, "that Isabella called me earlier. She sounded happy, truly happy. I think you set the tone for the wedding night in a way that no one else could have." I smiled, a warm sense of satisfaction spreading through me. "Thank you. That means a lot." And it was, well, chaotic but memorable. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Marjorie laughed softly. "Life has a way of surprising us, doesn't it?" "It does," I agreed, "and sometimes the surprises are exactly what we need." We spoke a little longer, sharing small anecdotes and gentle laughter. When the call ended, I sat back, letting the events of the past week wash over me. The prank, the unexpected appearance of Marjorie, the laughter, and the quiet moments of understanding, all of it had woven a story that would linger in memory, a tale of chaos turning into connection, surprise turning into affection. And in that moment, I realized that life, in all its unpredictability, had given me a gift, an understanding that even the most unexpected encounters could lead to the deepest bonds, that family, whether by blood or choice, was built through shared experiences, laughter, and love. Days turned into a week, and the memories of the wedding night prank faded into gentle recollection, though the laughter it sparked lingered in my mind. The unusual presence of Marjorie had left a lasting impression, her unexpected visit underlining the unpredictable nature of family dynamics. I found myself thinking about her often, not with resentment or fear, but with curiosity and a strange sense of respect. She had arrived quietly, demanded nothing, and yet her presence shifted the tone of the night in ways no one could have predicted. Meanwhile, Alex and Isabella were enjoying their honeymoon in the seaside town they had chosen, sending pictures and messages whenever they could. Photos of Isabella laughing on the beach, Alex holding her hand as they explored local markets, filled my phone, and I found myself smiling at each new update. Their joy was palpable, radiating through the images, through the words that accompanied them. At home, the apartment felt quieter than usual, a calm that contrasted sharply with the energy of the wedding week. I began to reorganize a few things, tidying up photos, letters, and little mementos from the ceremony. Among them, I found the small envelope Marjorie had handed me in the hotel, the one containing a note of thanks and reconciliation. It was strange to read it again, after the intensity of the night, and yet comforting. Her words were sincere, her attempt at connection real. I set the envelope on the shelf, alongside other keepsakes, deciding to leave it untouched for now, a reminder of a night that had changed the course of more than one life. Work had resumed, and I poured myself into projects, allowing the rhythm of daily life to provide structure. But even amidst emails, calls, and meetings, my thoughts often drifted back to Alex and Isabella, wondering what stories they would recount when they returned. One afternoon, while preparing a report, my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but the voice that answered my tentative greeting made my heart skip. "Hello, this is Marjorie," she said, her tone calm yet deliberate. "I wanted to talk if you have a few minutes." Surprised, I invited her to come over. "Of course, come by this evening." When she arrived, her presence was understated, but there was a strength to her demeanor that had been evident from the first moment she appeared in the hotel suite. "Thank you for seeing me," she said, her eyes searching mine. Looking for an unspoken permission, I wanted to apologize properly and explain a few things about last night. We settled in the living room with cups of tea. She took a deep breath, then continued. "I realized my timing was unusual, unexpected, but seeing Isabella, seeing Alex, I knew it was important to acknowledge the past before it was buried under celebrations. You welcomed me, despite everything, and I wanted to honor that. It's not easy for me to admit how much fear and regret I carried for years." I nodded, understanding her words. "You were brave to come. It wasn't easy for anyone involved, but it changed the dynamic, in a good way. We all learned something." Marjorie looked relieved, a faint smile forming. I hoped it might. Isabella seemed happy, and Alex, he looked calm, at ease. That mattered to me. We talked for hours, sharing memories, clarifying misunderstandings, and even laughing at moments that had been tense just a week before. The conversation drifted naturally, ebbing and flowing with honesty, and I realized how much had been healed simply by presence, by acknowledgement. By the time she left, it was dark outside, the city lights glittering against the evening sky. I waved as she walked down the steps, a quiet sense of closure settling over me. Life felt lighter somehow. The chaos of the previous week transformed into lessons of resilience, forgiveness, and understanding. The following morning, Alex called, his voice bright despite the early hour. "Mom, guess what?" he asked. "Isabella's idea. We're taking a detour to a small vineyard on the coast before heading home. She wants you to be the first to taste the wine she picked out for us." I laughed softly, imagining the mischievous sparkle in Isabella's eyes. "I'll be honored," I replied, thinking how unusual yet delightful life's twists had become. Within a few days, they returned, the luggage heavier with souvenirs, gifts, and bottles of wine carefully selected. They carried stories of their adventures, humorous mishaps, and quiet moments that had strengthened their bond. Isabella recounted a tale of a mischievous seagull stealing their lunch, Alex laughing at her exasperation, and both of them agreeing that even small annoyances could become memories they would treasure. The house felt alive again, filled with laughter, the scent of fresh flowers, and the hum of settled contentment. Alex and Isabella began settling into their routines, unpacking, so reorganizing and sharing meals. Yet, beneath the surface of domestic normalcy, the events of the wedding night still lingered, occasionally surfacing in playful comments and knowing glances. One evening, as we sat together discussing plans for a family dinner, Isabella said, "Mom, I still can't believe Marjorie showed up. Honestly, I didn't expect her to come at all." I smiled, recalling the surreal moment of discovery. Neither did I. But sometimes, life surprises us when we least expect it. Alex chuckled. "You could have hidden under the bed again, but this time for real scares." Isabella laughed, shaking her head. "No, thank you. One prank is enough for a lifetime." The days continued, a balance of work, relaxation, and planning for the next chapter, yet an underlying sense of anticipation hung in the air. There was something unspoken, a recognition that life would continue to test, challenge, and surprise in ways that were beyond anyone's control. One afternoon, a package arrived addressed to Alex and Isabella. Curiosity piqued. They opened it together, revealing an elegant photo album. Inside were images from the wedding, candid moments captured by the photographer, smiles, tears, laughter, and quiet glances. Among the photographs was one that stood out, a candid shot of me half hidden under the bed, peeking out with wide eyes, Isabella laughing at the sight, Marjorie standing frozen, completely unaware of what she had walked into. The photograph perfectly encapsulated the chaos, the humor, and the unexpectedness of the night. We all laughed, the sound echoing through the apartment, a reminder that even the most unusual events could become cherished memories. That evening, Alex proposed a small toast. "To life," he said, raising a glass of the wine they had picked at the vineyard. "To surprises, laughter, family, and the unexpected joys that come with both." We clinked glasses, savoring the warmth of the wine and the comfort of togetherness. It was a quiet celebration, yet filled with meaning. In that moment, I realized how the night's events, though fraught with tension, fear, and surprise, had brought a deeper understanding, not only of others, but of myself. It reminded me that life's twists, even those that seem inconvenient or shocking, often carry lessons, opportunities for growth, and the chance to forge bonds that might otherwise remain untested. Later, as the city lights twinkled through the window, I thought about Marjorie, the courage it took to face her past, and the strength required to step into the unknown. I understood now that forgiveness and understanding weren't just acts of kindness. They were essential for peace, for moving forward without the weight of old resentments. Life had a rhythm, a pulse that we often ignored until something unexpected jolted us awake. That night, as I prepared for bed, I felt a quiet gratitude for Alex, for Isabella, for Marjorie, for the surprises that reminded me life was richer and more unpredictable than I had ever imagined, and for the lessons that came disguised as chaos, laughter, or even a prank gone awry. The days after Alex and Isabella's return settled into a comfortable rhythm, though the memory of that night under the bed remained a quiet, humorous undercurrent. I found myself revisiting it often, not with embarrassment, but with an odd sense of pride in how it had unfolded. Life, after all, was rarely predictable, and that night had been proof. Isabella had settled into her new apartment near ours, grateful for proximity, but also eager to begin the next chapter with Alex. Their mornings were now punctuated with shared coffee and quiet conversation, their laughter spilling into the hallways when a joke or playful tease landed just right. One Saturday morning, I was preparing breakfast when the doorbell rang. Peering through the peephole, I saw Marjorie standing there, her usual composed expression softened by a tentative smile. "Good morning," she said, holding a small bouquet of flowers. "I thought I'd stop by and see how everyone's doing." I invited her in, curious about what might bring her at this hour. "It's been a week since the wedding," she said as we settled into the kitchen, "and I wanted to check on things. I know that night was unusual." I nodded, pouring her a cup of tea. "Unusual is one way to put it, but everything turned out well. You weren't a problem. In fact, you were part of the story now." She laughed softly, a sound that carried warmth. "I hope it's a story worth telling." I smiled. "It already is, and the children adore you in their own ways. Isabella talks about you often." Marjorie's gaze softened. "That means more than you know. I wasn't sure how I'd be received, but it seems accepted. That's enough for me." Our conversation drifted, from light-hearted anecdotes about neighborhood events to deeper reflections about family and relationships. We laughed about trivial matters and nodded in mutual understanding about the weightier ones. By mid-morning, Marjorie had to leave for an appointment, but she promised to return soon. The door closed behind her, leaving a sense of calm and continuity in her wake. Alex and Isabella returned later that afternoon from errands, arms full of groceries and smiles. The apartment was filled with the scent of fresh flowers and the warmth of tea, still lingering in the air. "Mom," Isabella said, setting down the bags, "you've been seeing Marjorie?" I nodded. She stopped by. We had tea, talked. She seems grounded now, happy even. Alex laughed, shaking his head. "I never expected my wedding night to include a family meeting under the bed and now tea with my mother-in-law. Life has a funny way of surprising you," Isabella grinned, nudging him. "It's all part of the adventure." Later that evening, as we gathered for a casual dinner, Marjorie's presence remained a topic of conversation. She had a way of subtly influencing the atmosphere. Her composure, her thoughtfulness, and her willingness to acknowledge past mistakes without demanding attention created an unexpected harmony. Alex raised a glass mid-meal. "To unexpected family members and the lessons they bring," he said, smiling at both Isabella and me. We clinked glasses, and for a moment the world outside seemed to pause, allowing the warmth of connection to settle in. That night, after the dishes were cleared and the apartment quiet, I reflected on how the dynamics of relationships could shift so rapidly. One night of chaos could turn into a week of understanding, and one act of courage, like Marjorie stepping forward, could alter the course of everyone involved. Sleep came easily, filled with dreams of laughter, warmth, and the faint echo of the wedding night. Over the next few days, the rhythm of life continued. Isabella was busy unpacking and organizing her belongings, Alex was focused on work, and I returned to my routines, managing projects and appointments. Yet there was a subtle undercurrent of change, a recognition that life was never static. Even the smallest interactions could have ripple effects, shaping relationships and decisions in ways that were not immediately visible. One afternoon, the phone rang, and it was Isabella. "Mom, can you come over? Something happened, and I think you'll want to see it." Concerned but curious, I made my way to her apartment. She opened the door with a mixture of excitement and worry, holding a letter in her hands. "It's from my mother," she said, her voice trembling slightly. I took the letter, reading the familiar handwriting with a mix of apprehension and hope. Marjorie's mother had written, expressing gratitude, sharing family memories, and acknowledging the complexities that had led to her absence during critical moments. She requested a meeting, a chance to bridge gaps and foster understanding between generations. I looked at Isabella. "Would you like me to arrange it? We could meet here so everyone feels comfortable." She nodded, eyes wide. "Yes, please. I want to know her, and I think it's time. It's strange, but I feel ready." Over the next few days, we coordinated the meeting. Marjorie and her mother, Helen, arrived together one sunny afternoon. The atmosphere was cautious but polite, each woman studying the other, gauging intentions and character. Introductions were formal at first, but warmth slowly seeped in as they shared stories, memories, and laughter. Isabella observed quietly, absorbing the exchange between the two important women in her life. Alex stayed nearby, occasionally interjecting with a humorous comment to ease tension, while I watched, fascinated by the unfolding reconciliation. By evening, a sense of calm had settled over the apartment. Helen had shared anecdotes about Isabella's childhood, moments of care and subtle guidance she had attempted from afar. Marjorie and Helen spoke honestly about misunderstandings, regrets, and the desire to foster a new relationship free from past grievances. Isabella smiled, a rare serenity on her face. "Thank you both," she said softly. "This means more than you know. I feel like a bridge has been built today." Alex reached out, holding her hand. "And it's a bridge that's going to last. No more mysteries, no more gaps." The following week was filled with a new energy. Helen occasionally stopped by for tea or dinner, sharing insights and advice, while Marjorie continued to strengthen her relationship with both Alex and Isabella. I observed the subtle transformations, noting how the household, once quiet and predictable, now hummed with connections, reconciliations, and shared histories. The experience of that wedding night prank, initially conceived as a joke, had blossomed into a series of events that transformed everyone's understanding of family, forgiveness, and the bonds that held them together. Each visit, each conversation, became another thread weaving a complex, resilient tapestry of love, acceptance, and shared responsibility. Life, unpredictable as ever, had delivered lessons wrapped in laughter, tears, and unexpected meetings. And as I prepared for bed each night, reflecting on the day, I realized that the story of that night under the bed was far from over. It had merely opened the door to countless chapters yet to unfold, chapters that promised growth, understanding, and the enduring power of family. The weeks following the meeting with Helen brought a remarkable calm to the household, a rhythm that felt natural and whole. Isabella and Alex continued settling into married life, balancing work, social obligations, and the quiet intimacy that only comes with shared routines. Helen became a frequent visitor, her presence gentle and nurturing, offering guidance when needed and quietly fading into the background when not. Marjorie, too, had found her place, her relationship with both her daughter and me now built on mutual respect, understanding, and a willingness to accept past mistakes without resentment. One sunny afternoon, as I was tending to my small balcony garden, Isabella appeared at the door with a mischievous grin. "Mom, remember that night?" she asked, her eyes twinkling. I laughed softly. "Which night? The one under the bed?" She nodded vigorously. "Yes, that one. You really got me good, but now it's my turn." Before I could react, she sprinted past me, heading for her bedroom. Alex peeked out from the kitchen, smiling knowingly. "It seems the prank tradition continues." I shook my head, amused, and followed the faint sounds of laughter. Later, we sat together in the living room, sharing stories from the past weeks. Conversations drifted from work to hobbies, from friends to family, and occasionally returned to the fateful night of the wedding. Each retelling revealed a new layer, less tension, more humor, and an appreciation for how small, impulsive actions can ripple outward, shaping lives in unexpected ways. That evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, a knock came at the door. It was Marjorie, carrying a carefully wrapped package. "I thought you might like this," she said, handing it to me. I opened it to find a handcrafted photo album filled with memories of our blended family. The wedding, quiet breakfasts, laughter in the park, candid moments captured at random. Tears prickled my eyes as I flipped through the pages. "It's beautiful," I whispered. "You remembered all these moments." Marjorie smiled. "I wanted to give something back, for all that you've done and all that we've shared. This is just a beginning." That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I reflected on the transformation that had taken place. The prank under the bed, once a source of anxiety, had evolved into a story of connection, forgiveness, and enduring love. The tangled threads of past grievances had been untangled, woven anew into a fabric that held all of us together. Weeks turned into months, and with each passing day, the household grew stronger. Alex and Isabella became more attuned to each other's rhythms, their love deepening in subtle ways, through quiet gestures, thoughtful words, and shared laughter. Helen's presence added a layer of wisdom and calm, her gentle guidance helping to smooth conflicts before they could arise. Marjorie's visits became a cherished ritual, her warmth and humor bridging gaps that had once seemed insurmountable. One weekend, Isabella suggested a family outing to celebrate their anniversary. We gathered early in the morning, a picnic packed with care, the children, now a small but lively group, excited to explore the nearby park. Laughter echoed across the lawn as we played games, shared stories, and simply enjoyed the presence of one another. Alex and Isabella stole quiet moments away from the group, holding hands, sharing smiles, and occasionally exchanging a secret joke about the prank that had started it all. I watched from a distance, heart full, knowing that the love we had nurtured had created a resilient foundation for the future. Later that evening, as the sky deepened into twilight, Marjorie leaned against me quietly. "You know," she said softly, "I never expected to be part of a family like this. Thank you for letting me in." I squeezed her hand, feeling the sincerity in her words. "Everyone deserves a chance, Marjorie. Life is complicated, but love is what makes it worthwhile." The following months were marked by steady growth and joy. Alex received recognition at work for his dedication. Isabella continued building her career while nurturing their home, and our family expanded in small, meaningful ways. Birthdays were celebrated with laughter and warmth. Holidays brought together old friends and new family, and every shared meal became an opportunity to strengthen bonds. One rainy afternoon, Isabella called me with urgent excitement. "Mom, come quick. You have to see this." I hurried to her apartment and she led me into the living room where Alex was setting up a surprise for her, a collection of framed photos from their first year of marriage, each annotated with memories and reflections. Isabella gasped, tears welling up as she looked through each frame. "Alex, this is incredible," she whispered. He smiled, taking her hand. "It's a small way to say thank you, for everything, for your love, your patience, and for being the heart of our family." I stood quietly in the corner, overwhelmed by the layers of love and thoughtfulness surrounding me. It was impossible not to feel grateful for the strange, winding path that had brought us here, from a night of playful mischief under a bed to this moment of profound connection. As evening fell, the family gathered once more for dinner. Conversations flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and teasing. Marjorie and Helen shared stories, each revelation weaving them closer together, while Alex and Isabella spoke of dreams, plans, and the joy of building a life together. That night, as everyone settled down, I felt a deep sense of peace. The complexities of relationships, the shadows of past grievances, and the uncertainties of life had all been tempered by understanding, forgiveness, and love. Every challenge faced had strengthened our bonds, and every shared joy had multiplied in significance, because it was experienced together. Weeks later, as spring bloomed and the city around us awakened with life, a letter arrived from Marjorie. Inside was a note and a photograph of Isabella as a child, laughing uncontrollably at a birthday party. Marjorie had written, "Thank you for showing me what family truly is, for giving me a second chance, and for teaching me that love can grow in the most unexpected ways." I held the photograph close, smiling through tears. The journey, with all its surprises, missteps, and reconciliations, had led to this, an unshakable sense of belonging, a family strengthened by the lessons of patience, forgiveness, and humor. And in the quiet moments, when the house settled into evening stillness, I often thought back to that wedding night prank, the impulsive decision to hide under a bed. Who could have imagined that one small mischievous act would catalyze a chain of events that brought laughter, healing, and enduring love to all of us? Life, in its unpredictable way, had reminded me that even the tiniest actions can reverberate across the lives of many, leaving lasting impressions that shape the future in unexpected and beautiful ways. And as the stars twinkled above, the house quiet and filled with warmth, I realized that happiness was not about perfection, wealth, or achievements. It was about the people around you, the bonds nurtured, and the shared experiences that define what it truly means to be a family. That night, I sat by the window, reflecting on our journey, on mistakes forgiven and love reaffirmed. Alex and Isabella were in the next room, planning a small celebration for friends, their voices carrying joy and excitement. Marjorie and Helen were quietly chatting over tea, and the soft hum of conversation and laughter filled the air. I felt a profound sense of gratitude. A mischievous prank had turned into a legacy of love, compassion, and connection. And in that moment, I knew family, in all its forms, was the greatest gift of all. Life moved forward, and we moved with it, carrying lessons learned, hearts full, and the certainty that, no matter the challenges, love and understanding would guide our way. And yes, I never hid under a bed again, except for playful games with Alex and Isabella, always with laughter and never with fear. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks, so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.